There we go. Ahoy, everyone. Welcome aboard. I'll be your Captain Hillian today, along with... And welcome back to Aragami, where last time we got through the last chapter after, well, chasing around the Kaiho general, who, well, fled somewhere inside of the temple, where, where, well, we want to be. Why am I blanking on her freaking name? Kamiko? Kamiko is, I think, the name. So, yeah, we'll finish the main story today. But after that, we have the Nightfall DLC. But before all of that, we still have a bunch of lore to read. Oh, okay. So you are an unknown dragon. Okay. But yeah, last time we finished up Hyo's Chronicles. So now it's time for Tsushi's notes. Tsuyoshi being the elder, I believe, of the Kaiho, or the spiritual teacher, maybe not leader. Let's see, May 20, year 27 of the fifth age. The vital essence, or simply essence, is what we call the energy that flows inside any living being, just like blood. I studied it for so many years, and yet so much is still unknown. In the same way that the heart pumps red saps from our veins, essence also has a circulatory system in a center, although it is more like a river than a pump. It generates its own motion, it generates its own existence. That center, as well as the essence, is known by many names depending on where in the world you are, but here we call it the soul. When the fire adept lights a bonfire with their bare hands, or when an earth adept cracks the ground they stand upon with the tiniest of movements, essence is being emitted from their bodies and channeled into the world through an element. As far as we know, there are 7 pure elements: fire, water, earth, wind, light, darkness or shadow, and life. Okay, so there is no death essence or such. Typically when you get to like Chinese elements and such, it's typically only 5. Fire, water, earth, wind, and metal, I believe. Or energy in some cases. Hmm. That is to my very limited knowledge of all that stuff. So take that with an entire salt shaker. Then there are the hybrid elements, born from a mixture of pure elements, but I'll leave those for another time. Okay, adapts. September 1, year 32 of the fifth age. More than once I've been asked if an adept of a certain element is born or made. While it's true that you can be born with an innate inclination toward one element, but this only means it will be easier for you to use if you decide to study it. It will still not come naturally. It is like a canvas. When you are born, your soul is blank, and it is you who decides which color to paint it, from fire red to water blue to shadow black. The more you paint the canvas, the more powerful you become. There are those who think that the essence an adept picks defines who he or she is. Light for the good, darkness for the bad, fire for the brave. Based on my vast experience, I can say that essence has no bearing on personality. It's based on pure chance. Guilds who worship a specific element aren't necessarily better than sects who worship a god or gods. I've met sects that paid respect to their gods without harming anyone, and guilds that destroyed others just because they could. Yeah, these do sound like very wise words from, well, someone who's been around for a while. Wait, wasn't the... I'm just trying to square stuff up. I think that elder of the Kaiho had also had Yoshi in his name, but from the way he could have died of natural cause. I don't think it actually said among Hyo's chronicles that he was slain in battle. And we only saw, well, he still died at some point because we saw, well, his grave, or at least a shrine to him. So it could be that he still lived afterwards, and that does mean that it has been a long as while since, well, all of this happened. Like at least 2 decades or something since, since the war or something. Let's see. Yep. Hey, Rom, how are you doing? Almost over. We got to the end and we still have a DLC to do. Plus 2 entire lines of lore still. So yeah, thanks for popping in. Okay. What, I think something on your phone was audible for a moment there. Uh, wait. And
That
I
was
just
very-
realized that I fucked up with the audio again because both the game and YouTube were muted there for a bit. This audio issues continuing to freaking harass me, huh?
At least it was only 6 minutes in.
But yeah, for everyone wondering, Rom is just popping in to say hi and listen along. And, well, Drakir didn't say too much more outside of their usual stuff, only that they learned that, well, for their name, it's the first part still translates to dragon, but the other part is apparently unknown what it translates to.
Yeah, at least for now. I tried to see if any clues, but I couldn't get any clues of what the last part is supposed to mean in this case. So,
Okay.
but my look's still canon for I'm Scandinavian. Have makes sense. I have a beard. Hence be the dragon. And I'm still dragon. Hence be the dragon. So that still fits.
Also, since I can actually alt-tab out of this one, I'll actually put in Rom's current image in the reactive. So give me a sec on that.
All
I
right,
should probably put a number at a time mark at the start to for people who want to skip all of the lore stuff.
Might be a good idea. And also, yeah, time to free roam from this picture frame.
Let's see. Which one was this one? There we go. Upload failed. Okay.
Uh-oh.
Is it the specific icon or... Okay, maybe it's failing because of the streaming going on or something. Not that it should be hogging anything. Let me try a different image for a moment. An older one. No,
You did
still
have
fail.
some lag earlier.
Weird. Yeah, I'll have to change this up some other time then. Wait, it worked with Liz's, didn't it? But then that was a much smaller icon. I'll try to figure something out. But yeah, for now, I'm stuck like this then. Anyways, continuing on. April 6th, year 45 for the 5th age. As I said, the soul is a canvas you can paint with whatever element you want. You learn how to assimilate an element from the environment, you blend your soul's essence with it, and you emit the result in the form of a technique. But what if you cast your essence without channeling it into an element first? This was the question which led to the discovery of life essence. Life is the only element you can summon from within yourself, and it is still the most challenging to master. We, the 5 sages, have decided to study this great essence together. Each of us are entering this endeavor as masters. Now it is time to combine our efforts, discover how far we can push the limits, and document the results. We plan to found our own brotherhood. Eventually, we might even begin teaching its use. A bright future awaits, I hope. Okay, we missed one of the scrolls here. Inversely, July 21, year 45. Something strange happened today. A man from the village nearby came asking for help. He said a lunatic, a powerful fire adept, keeps coming to his village and attacking its people and cattle, apparently for no reason. We can't stand by and let this happen. August 17. The next time the mad fire adept emerged to attack, we were waiting for him. He was powerful indeed. Some cultures form entire sects around adepts who hold such power and follow them like gods. Luckily, this man had no sect. It was pointless parleying with him. He attacked on sight, a frenzy behind his eyes. It wasn't long before our battle began to damage the town. Then we came
Okay,
up
I'm
with
gonna
an idea.
go. I'm actually getting tired. I had to take meds because headaches. So I'll see you guys in a bit.
Okay, see you next time, Rom.
Is
Hopefully I
it
can
Rom?
fix your image by
Apparently-
then.
Also, apparently, Dark Tide might be having an event until March 6th. If anybody want to play it.
Okay, I'll be
Later.
up for joining, but first this. See you next time.
No problem.
Be safe.
Let's see. Then we came up with an idea. One of us held guard, while two others used the soul transferring technique on the man, but this time we did it inversely, taking part of his soul. Okay, so that must have been what... Part 4 must have been about some sort of soul transfer technique or something. The effects were immediate. His power decreased to nothing. He was paralyzed. The man couldn't do anything but watch as we cut the flow of his essence. Another powerful use for life essence has revealed itself to us. And now, of course, we will never go hungry. The villagers shower us with offerings. The sealing technique. August 20th, year 45. It was clear that the soul transfer technique was a powerful tool for weakening enemies. Nevertheless, a substantial drawback is that the summoner needs to stay perfectly still and very focused. Otherwise, the link will break and the technique will be cancelled. We must experiment further. I get the feeling this is that technique that they used on the Shadow Empress. To sap her strength. We've done it. I myself performed the experiment with one of the other masters. We broke the life link while the transfer technique was active, locking a small part of his soul in my body. The very instant it was sealed within me, I felt his essence emanating through my chest and limbs. The limits of my power have increased, and conversely his have decreased proportionately, as with the soul transferring technique. What is different here is that this transfer now lasts until I make a link between us, unsealing his soul from within me. We have decided to stay like this for a few hours and document any effects in the short term. This could be a revolution. Okay, effects of the seal 1. This is going to be a little bit of a long one. September 11, year 45. 2 days have passed and the seal persists. It has taken so little time to gather so much important data. It seems that, although a soul is divided, an imperceptible connection remains between its parts. I can feel my partner's precise presence through the part of his soul inside me. He can feel where I am too. This connection seems independent of distance. We've done some tests. No matter how far away or obscured we were, one of us was always able to find the other in no time. Okay, so that's how she sensed where the captains were. Last night I heard my partner screams while I slept. September 12th. Okay, so the next day, I woke with a start, thinking the nightmare was in my own mind. The second time his scream reached me, I rushed to his room immediately. He was lying on his bed, asleep, evidently uncomfortable but not in any pain. I realized nobody else had heard him. Then another scream, louder than the others. Covering my ears didn't help. I woke him, and the screaming stopped. He was having a nightmare. I could hear his dreams. Okay, October 5th. Each of us have performed the sealing technique with each other and released the link after a few days. The results are conclusive. Telepathy is possible between subjects who share soul fragments. One can communicate with the other, and the link can even transfer memories and feelings. The downside is that the research has revealed more side effects, which vary depending on the subject, but seem to show common signs depending on how the technique has affected your soul. If part of your soul was transferred to someone else, you present certain side effects. If part of someone else's soul was sealed within yours, you present different ones. The technique's strengths and weaknesses both disappear once the connection is cut and the soul fragments are returned to their owners. You keep iterating the process, resting between long transfer sessions, having your soul shattered, corrupted by another, significantly impacts the physical body. A sort of stress on the fibers of your being. Accumulating too much of this could be dangerous. Okay. Number 3. November 23rd. We've conceived of this tool as this technique as a tool to weaken dangerous enemies indefinitely, yet after 2 months we are still discovering new uses for it. Once part of somebody else's soul is sealed within yours, it is possible to transfer this fragment to yet another subject. All of it or just parts. This means that it is possible for the summoner to lighten the burden of the foreign soul, lighten the malaise This clearly made a difference when we tested it. The stress was the technique's main drawback. It also means that the soul can be split into more than 2 parts. Depending on the summoner's capabilities, the other person's soul can be fragmented into as many parts as the summoner wishes. I've left the best for last. We have discovered that it's possible to seal soul parts not only in humans, but in animals too. Although they cannot carry as much soul as the human body, the link works in exactly the same way. Some of us now begun documenting how it feels to see the world as a rat or a dog. December 27th. Fascinating. Utterly fascinating. Yesterday morning we found Soto, our dog, dead. I sealed part of his soul within me a week ago. This is unprecedented. While I'm certain he didn't die from natural causes or any external injuries, the cause still remains unclear. Then I realized this is the first time we'd had the opportunity to observe any interactions between the sealing technique and death. When Soto died, his soul should have left his body and become one with nature, as it has since the beginning of time. But the part of his soul that I took was still there, sealed within me. I could feel it. Does this mean his soul couldn't leave the world of the living? Was he trapped on this mortal coil? Then I had one of the most drastic ideas I've had in my life. Using the unbreakable connection between parts of a being's soul, I commanded Soto's other soul part, the main one, to return to me. Once it drew near, who knows where from, I directed it telepathically into Soto's body. We all watched, speechless, as Soto's body stood up and started running around the room. We may have discovered immortality. Okay, yeah, that is something. This totally can't go bad in any way possible. Okay, January 30th, year 46. Despite what we did with Soto, we have not been able to progress further. It is impossible without harming animals, and we aren't here for that. Hopefully we'll find a method in time. Besides that, however, we've made another amazing discovery. Animals are now forbidden, but it has transpired that soul fragments can be sealed in objects. Until now we thought that soul transference required a soul on both sides of the transaction, but once again our research has borne new marvels. A shortcoming of this technique is that we can't seal a soul fragment in any random object. It seems to be more complex than that. The summoner needs to have a strong sentimental connection with the object of transference. Precisely how this relationship works is still a mystery to us, but we can guess that a channel for life essence is built within any object of someone's affection. The size of the fragment you can transfer is far smaller than that of the animals, but unlike animals, an inanimate object doesn't die naturally. Based on previous studies, an adept who could seal small parts of his soul into objects like this would be immortal as long as someone was available to put his soul back into his body. Maybe we are not far away from the path to immortality after all. Okay, so that's what the talismans are. They contain parts of her soul as well.
Yeah.
The First Apprentice. April 6th, year 46. It's been a year since we 5 sages came together to study life essence. Now we are known as the Sealing Brotherhood. So many adepts came asking for apprenticeships, and eventually we decided that it's time to accept one. His name is Maelsha. Maelsha. He has a pure heart and shows great potential for using life essence. April 28th. Maelsha is doing well. In just a few weeks has begun using the sealing technique, which is advanced. At this rate, I am certain he will become a sage, an heir to our order, the first of a brand new generation. May 25th. Lately, Maelsha has begun making simple mistakes, even in basic routines and drills. Something is interfering with his concentration. He says he will come back stronger, but I'm worried something is truly wrong. May 29th. Apparently, Maelsha abandoned his training for the last 3 days because of a love affair. We don't tolerate this, but we have been forced to go easier on Maelsha than we usually would. The woman he has loved for many years has a very rare disease. I've decided to visit him before he does something he regrets. He is fully aware of the power of the life essence. Okay. Yeah, we are lacking the last one here, so... yeah, we're kind of lacking we're probably going to lack a full conclusion on this. May 26th, I was right. In disgrace, I was right. By the time I reached Maelsha's home, it was too late. His beloved must have been on her deathbed. He tried to retain her soul using the sealing technique. but his body couldn't withstand it. It was foolish to show him such an advanced and perilous technique in the first months of his training. I'm certain he was well aware of the risks and did it with the best of intentions, but now his death weighs heavily on our shoulders. The incident made it clear we've been playing God long enough. The healing technique is now marked as forbidden. We have dissolved the Brotherhood indefinitely. In this way, we will give ourselves time to think about the past, the present, and the future. We each use the forbidding technique on each other, so we can stay in touch regardless of the distance between us. So much for it being forbidden, huh? Mailsha always wanted to visit the Arid Lands. Maybe it's a good place for a new start. Reincarnation. August 23rd. I arrived in the Arid Lands some weeks ago. Rumors were right about the weather. I've never sweated so much, and never completely run out of sweat like I have here. Luckily, I found a good place to live, up in the mountains, situated not far from a small village full of light adepts. The way they use light in their worship is inspiring. Whenever I feel a particular longing for human contact, I'll go visit them. With everything that has happened, the forbidden technique, Soto, Mailsha, I can't stop thinking about reincarnation. I've heard so much superstition about it from so many different cultures, but never actual facts or methods. We never seen a thought. I think that's supposed to be. We. I read that wrong. We never even thought of looking into it further. It was nothing but a fantasy, and then I saw Soto come back to life. The gap where his soul should be filled up again like a goblet at a feast. He recognized us too, just like before. What would have happened if I had put the dog's soul into a different body? Would he still have been able to recognize us? Probably not. Memories lie in the brain, not the soul itself. But does the soul carry an imprint of its body, or the body's memories? Are they etched into the soul like stains in glass? If I had put a different soul into the dog's corpse, would Soto still be Soto? I don't think so. The soul is an important part of our identity. I just wonder, would I have put Mailsha's soul into another body? Would he himself be present in the body, living or dead? Would he come back? I have to stop thinking about it. I get the feeling number 15 would have... Well, things would have not ended up good. Okay, Yuki's Chronicles, for which we have all of them. Beyond the Walls. Oh, no... Okay, no date. Everything was easier back then. All we had... wait... I think I made a mistake with the Shadow Empress's name. Well, no. Yeah, I'm confusing myself. These must be the chronicles from that Captain Yuki that was dead before the game even started.
Yeah.
Or ambushed. Everything was easier back then. All we had to worry about were the ceremonies held for Amaterasu or Sun Goddess. Our only contact with the outside world was the merchants who stopped by our gates from time to time. The gates of that isolated village out near the mountains. I used to wonder how it would feel to travel the world, learn about different cultures, meet people adept in different essences. We used to grab adventure where we could. The four of us used to sneak out, climb the blacksmith's hut, and hop down the other side of the village walls. A dip of adventure that would quench your thirst for days. Our parents always found out, of course, and we were always punished, but it was worth it. My father used to say that as you get older, the lure of adventure ebbs away, that you begin to appreciate what you have in front of your nose rather than what's beyond the horizon. I never relished that thought as a child, but I would never have predicted the appearance of Master Tsuyoshi, or how much he would change everything. Okay, so that was him. Wait, doesn't that... Oh, the sixth age. Okay, I thought the fifth age was was the age of the Shadow Empress. No, that was the sixth age. Okay. And all of this takes place after, well, all of this. Okay. The Old Sage. I remember as if it were yesterday. We'd played outside too late and were rushing back home, making a game of it. Hikaru tried to leap over a pile of rocks, but didn't make the jump. We saw his leg split through the rubble, heard his leg crunch. We watched him turn whiter than the moon. We tried to get him out, but he almost fainted from the pain. It was nearly night time. We had never stayed out beyond the village walls that late before. We heard tell of desert creatures who would drag you back to their lairs. Vicious giant birds and scorpions with huge tails like scythes. Tails like scythes, yep. Then it appeared. A tall figure with a long beard and green vestments, holding a staff and walking slowly towards us. Our blood froze. By the time we noticed the shape, it was already at Hikaru's side, pointing its withered staff at the wrenched leg. It said in a calm voice, breaking a long silence, "Stand up." I got a closer look at the person while he addressed Hikaru. The figure was an old man. He wasn't scary at all. In fact, he emanated an aura of utter tranquility. We almost didn't notice when Hikaru stood up as if nothing had happened to his leg. The four of us were staring at the old man. With a kind smile, he broke the silence again and said, "Shall I take you home?" Transitions. Master Chiyoshi's arrival in our village was disruptive. We hadn't had an outsider stay with us for decades. Having a stranger in our midst, and one who wasn't a light adept, put everyone on edge. He was granted entry, but almost everyone just tried to avoid him, the same way they avoided everything new and different. But Master Tsuyoshi never took offense. He just focused on our rituals and studied our light practices, which he found fascinating. The master said he had been living in the mountains nearby, not far from where he had found us on our doomed adventure. It was part of his pilgrimage, he said. After a few months, everyone else in the village began to accept him too. Bit by bit, even the most resentful and intolerant couldn't deny how valuable he was. He brought true healing and new wisdom to our ways. Tolerance built like muscle on bone, and eventually acceptance blossomed in the hearts of the other villagers. We enjoyed Master Tsuyoshi's company for a long time. Eventually he said he had to return to his guild. They needed him for an assignment. He left us a stronger clan than we were before. Wiser, more capable. It felt like we could handle anything. Until the day the Nishoku arrived. Okay. Nishoko's invasion. 2 months after Master Tsuyoshi's departure, a group of around 30 men appeared. Their leaders said they were humble nomads crossing the steppe. They wanted to stop for provisions, offered us trade. Before Master Tsuyoshi came, the village never would have accepted trade with strangers like that, but now things were different. They attacked the moment they realized we didn't use light essence for combat. It was the third night after they arrived. A massacre ensued. My people didn't stand a chance. Hikaru, Yo, Sora, and I were outside during the attack, one of our escapades. We ran back the moment we saw the smoke, until we heard the screams. Then we saw him, beneath the Noshoko flag, the man with the patch over one eye, a sword dripping with blood. His face impassive, but for a slight tug at the corners of his lip. He noticed us immediately and commanded the man to come and kill us. We tried to escape, but the man cast shadows ahead of himself and slipped through them, reaching us in seconds. That's Hyo. We even saw that in one of the flashbacks.
Yeah, I feel like he might be the cause of a lot of issues.
Let's see. Thirst of Vengeance. As the commander's henchmen reached for Hikaru, Sora shut her eyes and cast a light barrier around us. We'd never applied light essence in combat before, but it only took Sora's sharp mind a moment to seize the opportunity. Then her pursuer began to laugh. He knew her barrier would save us for a few seconds at most. But just as the barrier began to fade, Ryo struck at the man with all his soul. We'd never seen anything like it. He threw a powerful flash which sent the man reeling backwards and gave us time to start running. We survived. He couldn't have recovered before we made it to the forest. But now we were alone, in the middle of a vast emptiness. The mountain and the village were the only places we knew in the entire world. At first we felt an emptiness. After days, painful days, of trudging on in silence, the emptiness gave way to melancholy. We sobbed. We were the clan's only survivors. Hikaru's Sora came out in boar-like grunting and groaning. Sora would stay silent for hours, then unleash a single long scream like a banshee. Ryo's face turned bright red and his features twisted into a permanent silent grimace. Ultimately, however, the melancholy soured into thirst. A thirst for revenge. They were all dead. We alone bore the clan's name. We would work together to do to these men what they had done to us. Reconquest. Ryo saved us. We might have died in that desert had it not been for him. He helped us see that we had potential within us, a potential none of us had seen until that point. He recalled what he had seen in Sora and himself that night, when we were on the cusp of death. We knew how to use light essence. We just had to think laterally, to apply our thinking to battle instead of faith and tilling soil. We talked about retaking our home. We thought that perhaps some of our clan were being held as prisoners. It took 6 months. We trained without